Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. India's accuracy in targeting in Pakistan. A lot has been commented about this. It's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Desh Kapoor.
Thank you, sir.
Who is an MBA and he's a senior person in information technology, but has his heart, and his heart pulls his mind also into geopolitics and culture. He has been making some very incisive comments and analysis on, on recent events as they occurred during Operation Sindoor, and of course much more before that. But it's a very horrendous act by Pakistani terrorists who, this wasn't like an ordinary terrorist attack. They came to Pahalgam, a very, very popular tourist destination in Jammu and Kashmir, and at the right time, as from the point of view of the weather, and it was 26 males. One of them was the pony owner, one of the pony owners, and another one was from Nepal. The other 24 were Indian males, many of them recently married and with their, honeymooning with their wives. When these absolutely, in a medieval fashion, they ask these, males to strip their trousers to ascertain whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim, and then shoot them in the, on the forehead in between the eyes. And in some cases asking, what are you, Hindu or Muslim? And when one wife, who had just become a widow, said, look, kill me also, he says, go tell Modi. Jaake Modi ko batao, words to that effect. It created it's not just a rude shock, but an overwhelming anger throughout the country. The Prime Minister, with his three ministers, the Home Minister, External Affairs Minister, and the Defense Minister, the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff, Chiefs of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, they had a number of meetings over the next 14 days, after which it was announced that Operation Sindoor has been launched. Sindoor, in this case, was a very, very significant term. That little pinch of vermilion powder, which is put on the forehead or in the parting of hair in the case of brides. And if the husband dies, it's wiped off and never worn again. And all I can say is that I think in planning Sindoor, Operation Sindoor, the Prime Minister and the planners, they made up for a lot of what was not done for the last decade or more. And, because it's every terrorist attack that is launched, it's asymmetric warfare. 4 or 5 terrorists come and they keep, they engage a company or 2 companies of troops or, police, which is a couple of 100 people at least, if not more. And it is also very, it was also what was disturbing was that just a few days before this attack, this Asim Munir, the general who got promoted to the rank of Field Marshal, the second Field Marshal in Pakistan, and that too after his army got a walloping and did not even have the to have anything in itself to beat the enemy back. And it's not very surprising that there was a host of misinformation, disinformation, fake news, purchased news, and what have you. The damage that was done from the night of 7th, pre-dawn hours of 7th May was 9 terrorist hideouts completely pulverized. Then, and it was conveyed by India that we are only aiming for terrorist assets, not any other civilian, not any other military. However, its military opened up on Indian civilians, and there followed an exchange there. But what followed later was 11 military airfields of Pakistan's armed forces, mainly Air Force and even their army, which later on was acknowledged by Pakistan. They added 7 more. So suppose 18 airfields which were targeted quite accurately. And but the kind of reports that emanated were full of the ones which were meant to create doubts, and it's a pity that we have there's no dearth of the political opposition leaders also who are no less than no less than no less inimical. Mr. Desh Kapoor, I request you to make your opening comments on our accuracy and how it was viewed, because it's I feel it's very interesting to get an expert commentator who's based in the US, as you are. Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Colonel Bhat, so much for calling me to your esteemed platform. I'm really thankful and honored. So actually, I've been going through a lot of different sources of information. Based on that, I've tried to piece together like my thoughts and understanding of how things are, including open source intelligence handles on social media, which have been sharing like different angles and perspectives and things like that, right? And then control systems and things like that. So basically, on the night of May 9th, the Indian Air Force actually attacked the Noor Khan Air Base. Now, Noor Khan Air Base is there. It has a lot of things. It has its, AVAC, area. It has a lot of other, aircrafts. But that is important. But what is critical is what it has under the airbase. So there is like something called the HDBT. So HDBTs are the hardened, deeply buried targets. So these hardened, deeply buried targets are actually, military facilities, which are very, very, specific because they actually are used to survive kinetic and even nuclear strikes.
Recording.
And they include command and control bunkers. They include the nuclear weapons storage sites. They have ballistic missile silos, air defense and radar stations, and underground aircraft hangars and tunnels. Right. So it's a it has reinforced concrete. It has steel. It has a lot of things, and generally they are more than 100 feet deep, and they are like very hardened. And there is a shielding also there for for EMP ammunition going off, nuclear, biological, or even chemical. Now, what that also means is that like it needs to have its air conditioning and things like that really nice, because otherwise it will be a big problem. So there are very specific companies which actually like build these. There is Bechtel in US. There is a China State Construction Engineering Corporation. There is Larsen and Toubro (L&T) that India has. The Ordnance Factory Board, the DRDO, is also works on the hardened storage and launch facilities that India has. And then there is General Dynamics, there's and Raytheon. They work together. And from Israel, there is Rafael, RAFEL, not the French Rafael. So there is a difference. So this is Rafael Advanced Defense Systems from Israel. Now, some of the commentators have said that even General Electric may have been involved in the manufacturing of or the construction of this. General Electric is generally involved in things like say power generation, and things like that. So if they would have been involved, what they would have probably done is create the power systems, and the turbine and HVAC technology, which takes care of the entire air conditioning and things like that, and also sensor and grid integration, which involves AI monitoring and all that relay stuff. So they would not be involved in the reinforced concrete superstructures or steel and things like that. That would be something that, say, somebody like General Dynamics or L&T or Bechtel would be doing. So in that sense, if you see, these HDBTs are the last line of defense. Now, what happens is that they have the Pakistanis have been building these HDBTs over the last many years, and by some count, they are over 20 right now in Pakistan. There was one in Murid, Bholari, and things like, and like even under Karachi, and like Noor Khan was obviously there under like other places, other cities that Pakistan has. So these are very important because to breach them, you either need like bunker busters that America has, or like hit sequential tandem bombing, like to create that burrowing effect so that it can actually go deeper, or earth penetrating nukes that go in. You could also use cyber or EMP attacks, and then use some kind of a way to get into the HVAC through a thermobaric bombs or gasification, so that you can like gas the people inside, like just cook them. So I think from all the sources that have talked about, there is a defense news, there is CAPS India, there is other like people who have talked about this. They seem to think, and like even the open source, the social media handles, they are talking about how the Indian Air Force actually bombed, like in a way that the bomb actually went through a 45 centimeter like HVAC vent all the way down to the main area, and that's where it may have acted as a thermobaric bomb. Now, like whether it was thermobaric or not, or whether it was a variation of the Spice 2000 that India used in Balakot, uh, the impact of that bomb was pretty huge. Like in a way that it, like even like pushed the ceiling up, and like that is very interesting in the sense that it is such a hardened steel, hardened concrete. To break that ceiling takes a lot. To push it up would take quite a bit of power. For that kind of power to have been generated within that area, it would have been a pretty strong bomb that would have totally obliterated everything like within that like entire facility. So that kind of attack takes a lot of skill, lot of knowledge, lot of information, lot of AI work, and human intelligence, and like somebody would have gone through and taken the gotten the architectural plans of that area, known where the shaft is, how it goes, which shaft actually goes to the main hall, and the pinpointing of that vent would have been so precise from that airplane, like which actually went, and would have been sent. The bomb would have been sent at the right time in the right way to pinpoint it. That would have taken a lot of work, both intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. All those assets would have been used to actually like create that kind of attack, which would have been almost flawless, right, with zero error, because there was not much like room for error there. Like if you like remember the Balakot attack, like that was just a few inches wide, that hole through which the bomb actually went down and like just baked everyone in there. So these kind of attacks is something that India is becoming more and more adept at, especially the Indian Air Force. So if you see, that is where like one marvels at how the Indian Air Force coordinated everything, because this was not just the pilot who was doing it. This was not just the systems on board the aircraft which was doing it, but also things which were going on the ground, on how they actually pieced together all the intelligence, human intelligence, AI intelligence, signal intelligence, everything together, like in a way that they could actually create and form this whole, attack to be so precise and so powerful that it created the impact that it did. And also, many sources have talked about this, and this seems very plausible, because like it was, at that time, Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan's entire command and control. See, Noor Khan is actually a C4I, a command and control computers and infrastructure, and intelligence. So, command control communications, computers and intelligence facility. It actually, it's a centralized control, right? It actually controls everything. There's real time communication across. They do like computational algorithms to make sure like whatever is going on anywhere in the Indian subcontinent, whatever they are privy to, they actually bring it together and like make sense out of that through the computers. So it was C4I facility. That C4I facility, to have been obliterated the way was done, it almost would have made them completely blind after that. Because, like, imagine if their chief of staff after that, and he was probably hiding in a bunker anyways. If from that bunker he wanted to actually give command, that command will go nowhere because the C4I was gone, right? So the entire work that was done was so like it is like everything, like it's a hub and spoke. C4I is the hub, everything else is a spoke. They actually took out the hub, so the spokes were rendered useless. So in that sense, in terms of how the battle management was done, was fascinating, like really fascinating for a person, like for a lay person like me, who has not been in the forces, but has tried to observe and try to understand things that go on, like with these battle plans and geopolitics. Because my area of interest is geopolitics, how different forces and different countries and different armies and different people, even politicians, like work together or work against each other, and how they take the decisions that they take. There are things which like may not seem very apparent, but if you put together 4 or 5 different variables and start game playing them, you will find that things start making sense. So my interest is always to actually bring in as many variables as I can pertaining to that situation, and then start thinking on that. So in this case, you know, uh, like what I've been thinking is that if their main C4I has been taken out so fully or so completely, then how are they planning for the next like for the next round of this whole thing? Because there will be a next round. It is not done. Our prime minister, India's prime minister has said, very clearly, this was just pause. This was not finished. If this was just a pause and not the end, then there is going to be a subsequent sequel. Whenever that sequel happens, the question is, how are they actually preparing for that? And how the Indian Air Force, like basically in the coming days, the impact of the infantry or the artillery like may not be as much as like that is like as much as say the Air Force or the Navy. And like even in the army divisions, their entire way of working would be changing. So how are they actually working together? That is something that one needs to actually think through. And it is not something that like most of the commentators on social media or even mainstream media are really discussing in detail, and that is a sad thing.
What do you mean by discussing in detail, and that's a sad thing?
Like what I mean is that like if you really look at what is going on, the discussions that are going on in the mainstream media, they are pretty shallow. They don't ask like the difficult questions. They don't ask like deeper questions on like what will be the next thing, because
Okay. Uh,
yeah.
at least, do you think it? Do you think that the point went through that for this kind of um, an horrendous attack, this is the kind of punishment you will get, and that India has the right to defend itself. This is
Right. So
we've used offensive defense, but this is it was defending ourselves.
right.
And after so many hundreds of terrorist attacks, this is one long overdue a very long overdue response that came.
And see, I totally agree with you. And the thing is that like India still had a very measured way of escalation. Like, after the Pelgam, their attacks was not on the military targets. Their attack was not on the
Yes,
civilian targets.
yes,
Their attack
yes.
were on the terrorists. And that was made very clear to the Pakistani establishment. And yet, they they wanted to avenge the attacks on the terrorist targets by actually involving and engaging their own military assets, which was the sad thing, because once they went into the military, engagement, arena or realm, after that things just go their own way then. And in that sense, targeting the air bases, which are the hubs of all the information and all the convergence of actions or the kinetic actions that Pakistan would be taking, was actually the logical way out. So, so in that sense, I think like India did a smart thing by going there. Now, one of the things that I've been studying for the last few days is between June 1st and 5th, yeah, a little before like June 1st and like June 5th and 6th, there have been over 30 shallow and small earthquakes near Karachi itself, and also in near Qaidabad and Malir and other areas. Now, like they are saying that the Lundi.
If I may please,
Yes, sir.
just a very brief interruption. Were there some few tremors on the 10th morning, 9th, between 9th and 10th also?
Mm-hmm. So, so now, like, let's understand how these kind of tremors actually, like what they signify. So, between June 1st and June 6th, like those, 5, 6 days, like I've said, there were 13 tremors in just 36 hours itself. The magnitude was around 1.5 to 3.6. It's very low intensity. But what was interesting is that the clustering of so many in such a short time, over 30 of them happening in the same localized zone like Karachi, is very, very interesting, because that can only happen if there is a volcano around. And there is no volcano around Karachi. So what was going on? So, and there have been, like similarly around Samungli near Quetta, air base, Masroor and Malir cantonment in Karachi, and also the nuclear power plant. So, and then, very interestingly, in Malir, which is a cantonment area, there was a 3.6 magnitude quake there. A jail actually, the structure broke. 216 inmates actually ran out, including some terror, suspects.
Wow.
Now, like was this, really something that happened that it fell down and that is why, or was it all staged? Because like once the inmates like run out, the entire media is focused on that. Like it's a great way of diverting the attention, and it's a great way of creating chaos also, to mask the military movements that are going on, and also to kind of test the psychological readiness of the masses, right? How are they thinking? Now, the people have talked about how the Lundi fault line, there's a Lundi fault line there in, near Karachi.
Landi
Like
Kotal?
yeah,
Landi Kotal?
right. So that could be like one of the, that could have been like suddenly active after decades. But the point is, like that seems very, like that may seem plausible, but it like does not make sense, because the statistical like rarity of having 30 plus tremors in just one metro zone, that seems totally off. So what could have been happening? It, such shallow, such continuous, quakes or tremors are like almost never because of the tectonic shifts. They are like probably because either like some testing is going on, or there is some tunneling going on. So my thought is that both of these, combination of both of these could be going on, in the sense that they could be actually creating some more HDPDs there. through tunneling and like blasting some of the rocks and trying to like work that out. And the other thing is that they may also be testing the tactical nuclear deployment like as well. Also trying to see how like they can try and do nuclear simulation tests which can go all the way except the final stage, right? So that they can test and make sure that their nuclear stuff is working. So the full detonation may not be happening, but the rest of this like sequence will be like tested out just to make sure that they are ready for it. And also it could also be possible that they are actually deploying some of their missile systems like and they are trying to create tunnels so that like they can be used in a very short deployment sequence. uh, so those are two things, or two or three things that make sense to me. One, trying to create the HTPTs, and also tunneling for creating more underground transportation system as well. And then testing out, doing the simulation test for the nuclear bombs, and also like trying to deploy their missiles. But what is the most interesting thing is that these are happening right under some of the most densely populated cities of Pakistan: Quaidabad, Karachi, Quetta, Sargodha, and like Islamabad. So ninth and 10th that we were that you brought up, sir, like that may also have been like probably they were thinking of testing out, or maybe that those kind of tactical nukes may have been hit. So both of these like two things could have been there. But right now, you know the reason of having so many quakes in such a short period of time at such shallow, depths.
It's something of Pakistan's armed forces doing. It's
Absolutely. And I think like what is most disturbing to me is that they are probably following the Hamas model. That if they are doing all this under Karachi, and if that is where the deployment of missiles would be, that if they actually send out missiles, that is where they go out from, then India will be forced to actually attack those areas which are right under Karachi itself, or right under Quetta, or right under Sargodha, or right under Quaidabad. That is a very, very, very serious thing, because if in Gaza, Hamas actually uses, very often uses the normal civilian areas to build their, tunnels and facilities right under them. So it's very difficult to hit. These guys are using almost the same strategy. And it is going to be very tough unless and until India hits with bunker busters in Karachi itself. So you understand the kind of the absolute horrible mindset like these guys are using is like beyond imagination. Because I think the Karachi and the other folks, people living there, their populations should start pushing back. They should say that keep these things out of our areas, because they are the ones who are going to be obliterated and they are going to be used as cannon fodder. I don't know whether they are on. See, ultimately, at the end of the day, Pakistan is not a Muslim country. Pakistan is actually a Sunni Punjabi state. The Punjabis there, they are the ones who actually rule and lead everything. They are there in like cricket. They rule cricket. They rule armed forces. They rule the establishment. Karachi,
um,
anyways, they don't care. Even in cricket, they don't care.
um,
So they don't give a damn about that. Yes, sir.
um,
Sorry.
no, Desh, it's a great to be hearing all this from you, because um, whatever you're giving is, it's coming from open sources, sources which in the Indian government, the Indian armed forces, there are only, we could only come out with measured statements. But now, particularly what you've told us about what has happened between the 1st and 6th of June is indeed very disturbing. And I trust that all concerned are, they are apprised of it and are factoring all that. Meanwhile, thank you very much. Thank you very much, and all the best to you. Jai
Thank you,
Hind.
sir. Thank you. Jai Hind.